The reason we have this new evidence is because a public pressure campaign, along with survivors, forced Donald Trump to do that which he had fought all last year, release the Epstein files. And even as debates continue about the propriety and the redactions and A.G. Bondi's unusual presentation before Congress yesterday, we continue to learn new things. There's video from what appears to be a hidden camera inside an office he had in his Palm Beach residence. And it could shed light on what some witnesses and survivors have said was an effort at blackmail. And that matters not just for telling the story or looking back on this. It matters if these cameras were used, abused, misused for potential crimes that extend out to the ongoing questions which survivors and advocates for survivors and lawyers have expressed. Was there an ongoing conspiracy that has prevented a full accountability up until this day? And these files, these videos, they are changing things around the world, including in other countries. The questions about what the DOJ has failed to do or what some allege might have been pressured not to do. Now, some of the footage is admittedly grainy. There's about 9 minutes of it that shows at least one woman and one man at one point. We, upon this review of the DOJ material, have not been able to identify further what was on the video, who those individuals were, why someone would want to have ongoing office video like this, or the secretive, tiny video cameras that we only learned from the files he had an aide placing in Kleenex boxes. At one point, a woman sits on the desk, a man propping his feet up. You can also see a man in the chair as a woman appears to kneel on the floor next to him. At another point, there's a man that looks towards what we believe to be a hidden camera, meaning it wasn't out for everyone to understand. Britain's Channel 4 confirms the footage is from Epstein's Palm Beach home office.
So how do we know what this is and where it comes from? Epstein's Palm Beach property was raided by law enforcement in 2005, where police filmed this footage. Pause it here. You can see his office in the corner of the ground floor living area. This is the exact same office captured in the spy cam footage. So where is this spy cam in the office? Well, we believe it's here. And in the footage of the 2005 police raid, we can see that there is what looks like a wide clock positioned on a low side table facing the desk.
That's the Channel 4 investigation, including their review and video forensics. Now, if this were just a random person or random government files from an old case, and you say, oh, someone has videos, or someone keeps a diary, or some people keep voluminous notes and other people don't take any notes at all, you might say, who cares, and why is this on the news? But of course, you see where I'm going. We are way past innocuous notes or videos. We are talking about a sprawling conspiracy that went years, that has many unanswered questions, and, according to a lot of experts and victims, as I mentioned, who've spoken out, a scandal that involves other people allegedly a part of this criminal ring who haven't been pursued, who haven't faced full accountability. And the question is whether the videos and the notations and the other materials have been used over time in ways potentially illicit or illegal to answer part of that question. I'm speaking slowly and carefully because we are talking about elements. If you talk to prosecutors, they talk about elements of a crime. You'd have to check off all of the elements and prove them in court to have the crime. And here, the video surveillance is suspicious, but it's only an element. Now, I'll remind you, there are Epstein victims who have said that they believed Epstein had this extensive network of hidden cameras across several homes, according to the New York Times, and that there was concern that he might be trying to deliberately compile, quote, damaging info about rich and powerful men with whom he associated. Translation, the allegation or question is, was he not only a sex trafficker and a kind of a pimp for the adults, a sex trafficker and criminal for the minors, but was he also a blackmailer? There's a member of Donald Trump's cabinet who still says that and hasn't faced any sanction for lying about going to the island, a story we're also following. Now, there's footage that matches the police raid of the Palm Beach home in 2005, where they noted a camera hidden inside a clock in Epstein's office. They found another near his garage. We also have photographs that emerge of the surveillance system, the Times publishing the image of a camera perched near a suite of bathrooms. Other photos revealing an apparent monitoring station, which was labeled, we don't know if it was accurate, but they labeled it 24-hour surveillance. We also have, only from the new files, a little bit of how this worked. Epstein, who had a lot of money, paid a lot of people, telling an aide to set up these hidden cameras, The aide replying by email, I'm installing them into Kleenex boxes now. And then there is the current Trump cabinet. You might think it wouldn't be that hard of all the people available to take these powerful jobs that if one had been caught lying about Epstein, you might say, thank you for your service. We're going to find someone else who's not directly tied to this scandal and lied about it for whatever those reasons are. But that's not President Trump's position. As of tonight, he continues to stand by Howard Lutnick, who clearly lied about this. When the files came out in the last couple weeks, he then was forced to admit under oath he visited the island. And he, for whatever his reasons are, because before we had all these public disclosures about compromise and video and potential materials used for whatever they'd be used for, he was previously talking in public accusing Epstein of running one of the greatest blackmail operations ever.
That's what his MO was, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
Blackmailed people to a degree that he would make money, and Epstein had a lot more money than most people. So if Lutnick, who deals with your money as Commerce Secretary, thinks this was a significant amount of money, that is a lead in the case. Yesterday, Pam Bondi basically dodged and then implied that the DOJ hasn't checked with their own colleague, a fellow cabinet official, about what he was saying about blackmail. And let's remember, I'm showing you what we know in public. Doesn't mean he's credible. He was just caught lying. Maybe he was lying and exaggerating about the blackmail video for whatever his reasons were. But if you care about this, you'd want to get to the bottom of that. There are people who care about this. There are people who've been harmed by this. And then there's the Trump administration acting the way it is. This video is the latest revelation emerging from what has been a voluminous, chock full of information series of evidence in the new Epstein files.
According to the newly released documents, Lutnick arranged and carried out a private lunch with Epstein and his family on Epstein's private island.
There's also a nearly 2-hour-long, largely sympathetic interview filmed around 2019 that Bannon conducted with Epstein.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
Musk is also Epstein files. Emails show that he tried coordinating multiple visits to Jeffrey Epstein's private island.
Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files over 1 million times, according to Congressman Jamie Raskin, who has seen the so-called unredacted version of the files.
Now, the files that we have versus redacted have a big gap. Some of the million mentions could be duplicates, but the lawmakers who got this thing passed are concerned that the gap is so wide there could be ongoing false or illegal redactions. This is law now. Violating the rules on the redactions is violating federal law.
I ain't cutting Trump any slack now that we know that they've covered up the co-conspirator documents.
Oh, FBI concluded Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a sex trafficking ring for powerful men. File show. So there you go. That's the gaslightiest gaslighting shit I've ever heard in my life.
Whoa.
What do they think is going on? Just a bunch of fun? A bunch of guys hanging out?
There's other stuff in there, like that's already being brought up, that I would say is shocking to the conscience that Trump called it a hoax. Shocking.
Mm-hmm. And Vanessa, it's a whole different world. You have Trump lying to people about what he said he would do in office. Keen, eagle-eyed news viewers will find that is not breaking news. That has happened on many topics. But you can see an almost passionate kind of revelatory anger about it here, which does show us something different about the podcast space. We're not, for example, with all due respect, seeing that same awareness of the evidence on, say, many of the Fox News evening shows right now. But there's something different in the podcast space where, as they're mentioning, oh, these are the problems in the facts.
Yeah, I mean, podcasters are allowed to say what they really feel, right? I mean, they are alternative media becoming mainstream media. And whatever you think about Joe Rogan, he doesn't like hypocrisy. And what's so clear here is that Kash Patel did not tell us the truth. Now, right now, they're trying to give us a million documents because they're trying to take our eyes off of Trump and what happened with Trump and Epstein. And that is very much still an open question and one, I think, worth answering. So there is a degree to which, the play here was like, well, just tell them about all the other powerful guys who were involved in this ring and we'll confuse the situation. But by redacting some of those guys' names, you then know, well, we can't really trust even that you've given us all the names of the powerful guys. And by the way, what exactly is going on with Trump? Like, what exactly was the nature of that relationship in Palm Beach in the years when Epstein was doing his worst as far as we know, right, in this country?
Yeah.
So there's still so many open questions, and I understand they're trying to close the book, but this is not the way to do it.